This is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is Take One for the week of November 27. Peace be with you. Sunday, the 24th, is the Feast of Christ the King, or the Feast of the Reign of Christ. If you don't want to go with the King word, the Feast of Christ the King. One of my preaching students this semester helped me to see the text in a new way about the use of power and the difference between Christ as king and human leaders or rulers or kings. The text, the reading, is the crucifixion from Luke. So we have Jesus enthroned on a cross rather than enthroned on a throne. And Jesus has been, if you go back and read, Jesus has been humiliated and beaten and tortured. And now they're putting him on the cross. And the people are standing watching by. But it says the leaders, in some translations, the rulers, and I like that better, the rulers on this Christ the King day, the rulers scoffed at Jesus, saying, he saved others, let him save himself. And from the rulers, the scoffing goes down to the soldiers, who mock Jesus and offer him sour wine. And from the soldiers, it goes down, if you will, to the other person being crucified with Jesus, who mocks Jesus, saying, save yourself and us. And isn't that interesting how earthly power can sometimes work? That when we're feeling threatened or out of control or things aren't going the way we want, we begin to ridicule others, and that from our high and lofty leader places, and we're all leaders, that gets passed down. Contrast that to Christ the King, who turns to the thief, which we sometimes call the repentant thief, but I don't hear penance in anything he says. He asks Jesus, please remember me when you come into your kingdom. He makes a request. He doesn't say, I'm sorry for what I did. And Jesus says, today you'll be with me in paradise. So from the lowest place, if you will, on the cross, Jesus offers assurance and a place with God. And we know that from the lowest place of all, death, Jesus was raised to assure us that we have a place with God. And as a leader, Jesus led differently. And we can look back to, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do, and all of the ways that Jesus led. And that's what Jesus calls, the way Jesus calls the church to lead, certainly, but certainly all of us who are in any leadership role, to lead by virtue of our baptism, to lead in the stead and in the way of Christ. So what is the good news of this Christ the King feast? Yes, it is Jesus leads differently, but what is the good news? I think it is twofold, at least in my leadership role. One, when I fail as a leader, Jesus responds by assuring me that I have a place and offering forgiveness. That's one. Two, when I'm under attack, or when the initiatives that I am trying to work are questioned, I hate it when if you want to critique what I'm doing, that's fine. I think all leaders hate it when people read into what they're trying to do, bad motives. I think when staff is attacked or when families attacked, I think most leaders want to strike back and kind of mock. And Jesus' leadership not only provides us with a different example, but I think it provides me at least with a check on my actions, to realize, no, I need to lead in the stead in the way of Christ. So as much as I want to, I can't do that. And I think Jesus' leadership also empowers me, empowers us, empowers all Christian leaders to lead differently, to realize that a part of our worship, yes, and a part of our leadership is to embody the leadership of Christ. So Christ the King, maybe it's because we have impeachment hearings going on in our culture, maybe because it's because I had Madam Secretary on the TV as I was working through the text, but I'm really struck that that the movement of Christ the King is earthly leaders kind of move down into the dirt, and Jesus' leadership is in the dirt, if you will, or on the cross, and leads us up into the way of God's grace and forgiveness and love. Oh my goodness, death and resurrection. Pastor Sprang and I this week, the next Sunday for Christ the King, will be at Harbor of Grace Lutheran Church in Muskegon. It is going to be a very full and a very good day. I do ask for your prayers that things go as expected. At 10 o'clock in the morning, 4 churches in Muskegon. That would be Emmanuel, St. Luke, Our Savior, and Samuel will meet together for their last worship services. But what I love is they're meeting together for their last worship services. And then there will be 4 congregational meetings where the 4 congregations disband, close, finish their ministry. Then there will be lunch. And then I will get to preside over the constituting meeting of Harbor of Grace Lutheran Church. They will vote themselves into existence. They will approve their constitution. They will vote to call a pastor, and they will elect a church council. I'm not sure what the order of all that is. I know the Constitution comes first, and I know that Pastor Sprang has it under control. And then we will install their new pastor, which is pretty exciting. And also their interim or transitional associate pastor, we will commit the ministry to him as well. So that'll be a fun day. I will preach at the first service, and Pastor Sprang will preach at the afternoon service. So I ask you to keep Muskegon and Harbor of Grace in your prayers. I'm just so grateful and so impressed that these 4 congregations realized that they can be a more vital presence and proclamation of Jesus in Muskegon by coming together as something new rather than fighting to hang on. So I'm really proud of them. I hope you are too. And then Pastor Roseanne Anderson will be at Grace Lutheran Church in Hastings with Pastor Ken Sheck. And so we're excited that she gets to go there. On Wednesday, the 3 of us will be in our office, and we are welcoming First Call pastors and mentors for our fall First Call Theological Education event. First Call pastors are expected to do 3 years of training. We do it twice a year, and I always learn something new from our First Call pastors. So I'm excited to welcome them to Lansing. Trying to think. I believe that is all that's happening this week as we turn the corner and end the liturgical year with Christ the King, and then move into Thanksgiving and Advent already. So I wish you God's grace and God's peace, and that we all experience a bit of Christ's reign in our lives and in our church and our world, even as we seem to be working through leadership, other styles of leadership in other contexts. The peace of Christ be with you. And I'm not going to say go blue.